yo, didn't I tell you to stop dancing? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking? I was like, what? The fucking Ukrainian club. And I'm just like, I don't know. All the kids in Philly were fucking nuts.
It wasn't like a dirt floor, was it?
It was, I don't know, it was fucked up.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me and the Tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales. Why don't we start by you can introduce yourself?
My name is Naeem Juwan. Am formerly known as Spankrock. I come from Baltimore, Maryland, and I spent a lot of my seminal years in Philadelphia, and and New York as well.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is an unparalleled artist and style icon, Naeem Juwan, also known as Spankrock, also known as Mabroder. A must-see performer in my top 5 dead or alive, Naeem has paved the way for many, and while trailblazing a path for independent artists and performers, he's merged styles, genres, and all of his influences into an absolute explosion of pure magic and fun. Whether you know it or not, Naeem and his music, style, and stage presence inspired an entire generation. Spankrock did it first. Hear all about the early era of Naeem Juwan here. Without further ado, Disco MC Spankrock. What was the 90s like for you? When did you go to Philly too?
Yeah, the 90s is funny for me because I graduated high school in 99. And I went to a prep school, called Gilman. So it's a private school in Baltimore, Maryland. Choosing to go to Drexel in Philadelphia in 99, Y2K was a really big deal for me. I really wanted to get the fuck out of Baltimore. I needed it, for like freedom purposes. And Philly was a fucking trip. It was wild up there. Yeah.
Coming from Baltimore, like you growing up there, were you listening to like 92Q? Like, how are you getting your music and your influences then?
Yeah. My music, when I was like, the ages, I think I started rapping like around the age of 14, 16. And my music was all underground hip hop pretty much. I was listening to the college stations. Man, I forget what station was it in Baltimore. It's like WEBB or something like that. Or one of the college stations had a weekly underground hip hop night, so every Friday night, Sunday night, I can't remember what day it was. Me and my cousin would, call each other on the phone, record, the hip hop show on this independent radio station, and record it on our cassette tapes, and just be like, yo, what's this new Busta Rhymes song that they just dropped? Really kind of into the underground of hip hop during that time. But if you live in Baltimore, you can't escape, Baltimore club music, but club music is like something that was always there even before underground hip hop when I was a kid in the late 80s, Miss Tony, Frank Ski, Scotty B was, that's what I
Is Frank Ski Two Hype Brothers and a Dog, Doody Brown?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And he had a station on V103, maybe. it was like the other station. So it wasn't.
Are you dating yourself right now?
Yeah, I'm dating the fuck out of myself. So I think V103 and 92Q, but I think V103 was like what we listened to first with Frank Ski show. I think he was on V103. And there was a lot of Two Hype Brothers and a Dog. They would and Two Live Crew and Uncle Luke was really big.
I think it was so prominent in Maryland that I took it for granted. And it wasn't until I heard it on the dance floor of the Yuki Club where I was like, what? It like knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
And you said like you were taping the radio. Were you also acquiring like mixtapes from other DJs?
The mixtapes I was acquiring was mostly like Baltimore club mixtapes. I would go to like Security Mall, Westview Mall, go to the record stores there and collect the Baltimore club like tapes and CDs that DJ Booby was doing, or like probably Rodley and Scotty B, and probably Techniques too. So we mostly just like made our own tapes off of the radio. Or my older sister, who was like 5 years older than me, she like was like the hip hop queen. Like she's probably the biggest influence on my musical taste. And when she went to Columbia for college, I used to go up to New York, and she was there in like '96. I think she was like 1 year under Lauryn Hill. So Lauryn Hill was like in the school during that time. And it was just this really big energy around hip hop, and it was really important for them to bring hip hop into that higher learning situation. I remember going up there and bringing Baltimore club tapes, like just, like as a gift, to her, or just for us to kind of like try to get New York to like, like listen to the club music, and it would never go down. But she would always play just like a little bit at her parties at Columbia.
Yeah, that's cool. So she was organizing like hip hop showcases and parties.
Yeah, she probably did it through the Black Student Union, and she was doing like shows, doing big shows. Like she did stuff with Busta, De La Soul, Mos Def, I think probably.
Wow.
So I had this like, my last year of high school, I had this like little bit of connection to what was happening in New York.
Why did you move to New York?
I almost did. I almost went to Fordham for college. So I was choosing between Howard University, Fordham, and Drexel. And I think it just came down to money. I think that it cost less to go to Drexel, so I went to Drexel, yeah.
Tell me, like, I guess, how you started to experience nightlife or music involvement in Philly.
It took me a minute. It took me about a year to really figure out the city, especially, when you're underage, you got to get your fake ID first, or like you got to know, who's throwing the parties and stuff. I had a bunch of friends that went to UPenn, and I kind of started hanging out with them first. But then it was once I kind of ventured, I think once I dropped out of school, but still lived in like the college area in Philly, I started exploring the city more. And it wasn't until I kind of met the kids at UArts, where I started kind of being drawn more into like Center City. But I think it really started with Cosmo Baker at Fluid.
So you're going for the Remedy?
Yeah, I think so. Remedy, I think is what he called it.
Mondays.
Yeah. Monday nights at Fluid, yeah.
How did you discover this?
Well, once I met like the UArts kids, once I met like Jason Musson and all that crew, I slowly started meeting all the, like people like Dave Pianka. And Dave was doing what's his party's name?
Making Time.
I'm sorry, yo. I'm the worst person to interview. Like, I don't remember a goddamn thing about my life. I just started kind of like piecing the city together, but it was really the last drop, and looking at all the flyers, meeting Dave P, meeting Amanda.
Yeah, how did you meet Amanda?
I just met Amanda out, I just met her out in the scene, and I just thought she was the coolest person like in the fucking world. Like I was obsessed with her. I think what happened was that like I kept seeing Amanda and her crew out, like our friend Araya, and they were just like so fucking fly. And I was like hoping to go to that Wednesday. I was going to the Wednesday night party pretty much just to run into them. I was going to Ralph's party just to run into Amanda, and so like, yeah, they were the coolest people in the fucking world. So basically, that's how I kind of, I just put myself in the mix.
Meeting Amanda, I mean, obviously she's like rapping to songs in the club, but was she like, when did she actually spit for you?
It was really kind of towards the end of me and Alex making the first Spankrock record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had our record deal already. And we had a lot of songs done. And I was just like, yo, I gotta get Amanda on this. And I was fucking afraid to ask her, because like she would always be out in the fucking clubs rapping, you know, like on the corner, like, you know, when we all drunk when the clubs let out. And I was like, man, I want to get Amanda on this shit so bad. And it took me a while to actually ask her. But like right when we were finishing up the record, I think it was the last verse recorded for the Yo 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 album.
So how did you meet Alex?
So basically, I'm like, you know, running around all these parties in Philadelphia with like, you know, Jason Musson, Plastic Little, Amanda, going out to Phoenixville to record these little demos with my friend Steve McCready. That's like 45 minutes in the sticks, like outside of Philly. And then Alex, and I was also throwing this, I used to live on like 42nd and Spruce in this house right by UPenn with a bunch of friends. And I started throwing these like hip hop parties where we set up turntables and we would have an open mic, like in our living room. And so Chris introduced me to Triple Exchange. He actually came down to play this house party I was throwing with Tim Sweeney.
Oh, wow.
So like, yeah, so like I had this like little thing happening in my living room. We only did like 3 of them because it was out of control. It's fucked up. So we only did 3 of them, but one time Alex and Tim Sweeney came down. Sweeney fucking killed it. I was like obsessed with fucking Sweeney. Alex is like interning for DFA at this moment. And so he's bringing down all this new music into my life that coincides with all the shit that was happening with, you know, Making Time in Dave P's party and the music that Ian was playing and his little like Wednesday night party. And Alex heard the demos that I was making with Steve McCready. And one day he was like, you should come up to New York and make music with me. And I was like, okay, I'll come make music with you. So that's how I met Alex, was through, you know, Chris Devlin introducing us and bringing him into this little like house party that I was throwing in West Philly.
How did you happen into the Yuki Club with Hollertronics?
This is really interesting. I was working at in North Philly public school doing after school programs. This woman, I can't remember her name, but she was doing she came in to do art with the students, and she, I think, was in charge of a mural program that we all did together. And she was really fucking hip, really beautiful. And she was like, "Oh, you should come to the North Star bar. My friends do this like trippy, you know, psychedelic vinyl night at North Star Bar." So I was like, okay. And the person who happened to be doing this was fucking Wes. It was Wes. I don't think his name was Diplo yet. I think, you know, just Wes. He had this night with his friend Tony, and they was just playing psychedelic rock music.
Triple double.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then all of a sudden there's this party called Hollertronics at the Yuki Club.
Well, it was first called Get Crunk Now.
Are you serious? Okay,
Yes.
so
You don't remember that?
I didn't go to Get Crunk Now.
I didn't either, but I just know.
Okay, yeah. So basically, like, this party was going on, and like Jason knew, you know, Jason Musson knew about it, Amanda knew about it, our friend Rose knew about it. Like, I knew about it, but like it was at the Yuki, which back then Philadelphia was really like desolate. So just the area that it was in, I was like, yo, I don't like, it was like shady up in North Philly, like nothing else was around, you know. It's in this weird the fucking Ukrainian club. And I'm just like, I don't know, like if I'm going to venture there. So it took me a while to be like, okay, I'm gonna ride my bike to the Yuki to go to this party. So I didn't get I wasn't at the very first Hollertronics, because it was probably going on for about a month or 2 before I pulled up for the Yuki. The craziest party I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still to this day, a craziest party?
I think so, because all the kids in Philly were fucking nuts. Like that, like the party was more about the kids that were getting together. Like, it was the most diverse party I've ever been to. Everyone was a fucking freak, and everyone was showing up to really show off, you know? So like Rose would be in a bikini, dancing on the dance floor, trying to like get as much attention as possible. Everyone was super fucked, just like drunk as fuck. And they were all artists, and we were just doing weird shit and trying to show off, for everybody. So it's just like when the whole city, when not the whole city, but when everyone in the club is like desperately wants attention, like it creates this really insane environment, and people were dressing crazy as fuck. It was kind of like the first time like you kind of get the idea of like what the sense of like what a hipster is, just by like what people were wearing, and like we were just trying to look the craziest and be the craziest Muppet in the party,
I also recall the diversity because it was like bike messengers, graffiti boys,
right,
wild girls with, asymmetrical haircuts. It was just a very diverse group of people, but when it came together, it was electric.
Yeah, and that party was successful because of the kids of Philadelphia were willing to come together like that. And it wasn't happening anywhere else, really. I feel like it wasn't even happening like that in New York yet. Like, and
No.
plus, like the mayor was kind of stomping out a lot of the good parties in New York. Like New York was going through a rough patch, I think, just at that very moment that Tronic started. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like, I think if I wasn't there, they wouldn't have played Baltimore club music.
Really?
I think if I wasn't in the because I think what happened is that like certain people would just spark the dance floor, right? And it was always like me, Amanda, a couple of like friends in our circle.
Yeah.
And so we know that if we go into electronics, everyone's gonna be standing aside, but if we go on the dance floor, everybody's gonna come join, And I feel like they were like, oh, well, Naeem's gonna go off to Baltimore. And then everybody's looking at me being like, why does he love this music so much? And then they all start freaking out to it, it was really interesting because they were able to, like I said, like that party was so successful because everybody in a room was willing to participate and that they were willing to play for everyone.
Yeah.
So if they have a little Baltimore club section because they know I'm gonna go crazy, they also have like a little like 80s yacht rock section or a crunk section or yeah, but it was also pop music. It was like, it was like Michael Jackson still. It was still like, they just knew what was going to set off everybody, in the room.
Part of the equation for me was going to Hollertronics, well, meeting Jason, going to Hollertronics. But Jason also put me on to the message board.
Yeah.
Were you a part of like Trackstar and those early boards?
No, I was
Weren't.
I'm like a Luddite. I do not fuck with like computers and technology.
But you were on the Hollertronics board.
I was on the Tronics board because so much shit was popping off with y'all. Y'all was having so much drama on these fucking boards that like I felt like if I didn't look at it, then like I was gonna miss out on like real life shit, Like y'all was airing motherfuckers out. Like if I wasn't at the party, I learned everything that fucking happened. Like who did what like the night before. It was gossipy as hell. And also it was like, people sharing music. But I wasn't like on it like that. I felt like I wasn't like really ingrained in the friend group like that. I still felt like an outsider. I was still very much intimidated by all of y'all. And felt very like happy to like be around, because I was a bit of an outsider, like everyone else, because Philly's one of those cities where people went to high school there, like they don't leave, so like if you come into Philly from out of town, like you don't have 10 years of history with, the motherfucker who's throwing the party.
Okay, what about Electroclash? Were you aware of Electroclash in New York happening?
Yeah, so I was really aware of that, but mostly because of making time,
Mhm.
and mostly because of triple exchange, Alex Epton interning for DFA during that time. That really had a very big impact on me. All the electro clash and like punk mixed with house music was just like it, it was exactly what my heart wanted, you know. And like I would all those like warehouse parties in Williamsburg were kind of popping up. I used to go to Chick's warehouse, and just like my admiration for the Rapture was like out of control. Like I still love that band. Like I
Yeah.
don't think enough respect. Like like the emotion um that band put out is just like above and beyond. Like just it's just some of the best music ever made. And so like I really enjoyed that um perspective or angle of like how they were making music up there.
Mhm.
And I was more excited about that stuff than like the Baltimore club stuff because I was very familiar with the club music. I don't know if you remember this or not, but or maybe you weren't there. I don't know. I'm making this up, but I'm putting you into the story. I think you
Okay.
were there. I was at some bar in like the Lower East Side, and they were like a DJ was playing. It was amazing, and I just started dancing because like I was like, I'm gonna get this fucking party started. Like I think that I could like make any dance floor happen, and I'm like dancing. And this bouncer comes up to me. He's like, yo, like stop dancing. And I thought he was fucking with me. So I stopped, but he walks away. And then I just start dancing again. And he comes back over. And he's like, yo, didn't I tell you to stop dancing? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking? I was like, what? And I thought that you were like, yo, Naeem, no, you actually can't. You're not allowed to dance.
Yeah. I
And
think
in
it
my
might have
head,
been at pianos.
yeah, maybe. I think it might have been at pianos, like for real, for real. And in my mind too, like I don't know if this is facts and I could be completely making this up, but there was literally a like sign on like a little sign on the wall that had like Michael Jackson feet like across that said like no dancing or some shit.
That's the reality was back then. You had to have a cabaret license. Okay, so your first show in New York was with me. The club was called 13 Little Devils.
Oh right, that was our first show, 13 Little Devil.
I made you perform on top of a bar.
Oh, okay, this fucking show. Okay, this is what I remember. Jesus Christ, fuck this show. This show is crazy. This show is like okay, so there's like not a stage. It's just a really tiny bar. It's really awkward. I was performing with the Love Peace Project from Baltimore, like these djembe drummers. And I remember I was like, I want to turn this motherfucker out because I was a maniac back then. And I just remember us jumping up on the bar and I'm like rapping and dancing on top of the bar, and then like the girls dancing on the bar and the drummers just going off. I don't remember it being a good show. Um, I remember it being very difficult and awkward.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a great show because I always think you're fabulous, but I don't think anyone in New York understood what they were watching.
Yeah, I also remember it being. I think maybe the reason why it was a good show was because it was so jarring. I try to explain this to people, and like sometimes people don't believe me when I'm like, "Yo, New York was like going through a rough patch. Like it was not popping."
It
Sometimes
felt
people,
very sterilized, I would say.
yeah, or you had to really be in a know, or maybe like you had to, if you were doing kind of like the more um classic New York things, like if you were doing like Hot 97 hip hop or you were doing dance hall or something like that, you could find those like really solid parties. But as far as like this like creative, like downtown 81, kind of like vibes, like New York didn't have it then really, like Philadelphia really did have it. And
And then the New Year's show was like a month later, 3 weeks later. And then I had the venue canceled, and that's why I had to move it to 169 Bar, which was also a shitty bar.
yeah, so 169 like didn't even have a floor, I think. It's like
It wasn't like a dirt floor, was it?
It was, I don't know, it was fucked up. It was
It was
fucked up.
fucked up. And like
It
the
was,
whole sound system went out. We like Wes rigged too much equipment up.
oh, it was a mess. But it was still fucking, it was fun though. We had a blast in there, but it was a mess. I love that New Year's Eve party. I loved it so much. I remember like Amanda's dress barely like came down past the pussy. And I just remember it being really fun and really wild. But that felt that felt real to me. That felt like something was happening. That felt like Philadelphia to me. Yeah.
And then 3 months after that, I took you down to Miami for Winter Music Conference. Do you remember that? It was like you, me, Fiona, I think Chris Devlin. I don't know if Alex came, but we were all sharing a hotel room. Do you remember this? And the toilet exploded like numerous times. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess.
But the show was fucking awesome.
The show was great. You had what was that band? Purple oh, what's the other band?
Crush?
Purple Crush played too, I thought.
They did?
I think so.
Wait, I have the receipts. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, they did. You're right. Awesome New Republic, Spankrock with Big Dada, Purple Crush. In the main room, Margot, Albie Rotten, Johnny
Mhm.
Strokes, Max Pask, Gringo Scar, Superbug. The bar room was Sticky Rice, Deviden Alterior, and Johnny. And then the orange room was the room that I booked, and that was Catch Dubs, Christopher Roxwell, Synapse, and Blue Gems.
Damn, that's squad.
I'll send you a bunch of stuff when if you will open any links I send you. Will you click them or not?
Maybe. I really do not like being nostalgic. Like this is really hard for me.
I know. Why?
I don't like being nostalgic because in some ways I feel like it's like the death of creativity. And I know that's really dramatic to say that, but I kind of always want to say like, you know what? I kind of want to always exist in like what's now, what's in the future, how do I feel now? Because sometimes in the past, especially when my career is extremely rocky and like it was not good. Like I don't ever remember it being good. I remember like fighting, the entire time. I never felt like I had this like grassy moment where I was like, oh, like isn't this so wonderful? I felt like I was always fighting through something and I was holding on by a hair and then it all fell apart. So like being nostalgic is like really tough for me because like I can't think about the fun times without it being attached to like these really dark moments of like falling, losing friendships,
Yeah.
losing some infrastructure I needed, like whether it's like management or record label or things like that. And also just physically, my physical health is crazy. Like I have sickle cell anemia and I'm like was the most electrifying performer of that time. So it's kind of like the amount like I really laid down a lot on the line. I felt like I was like the little damsel in distress that the like indigenous people throw into the volcano. So so they can live like prosperously. So it's really hard for me to think about the past because it was really fucking difficult. I had a lot of fun, but I disguised a lot of the pain I was going through and I felt really alienated. And so like I'm always just trying to make things like a little bit. I'm always like, I like to stay in the future or stay in the now. In some sort of ways, I thought that I was riding the wave, but I think it almost like I was right before the wave and everybody else rode it. Like I feel like I was just like 1 to 2 years like too early or just like a little bit too weird. It was just I never caught the thing, and then you watch people watch me take whatever they want to take and then dive into the industry and they're really up for being a part of like the industry. And I felt like, a lot of those people got to, they hit the wave right when like the industry was ready for it. And I felt like I was fighting for the industry to be ready for it.
You're a pioneer, and paving a lane that no one else has paved before is not an easy job.
To me, music and dancing and living was way more important than like trying to preserve my body,
So tell me about meeting Santi. Do you remember how that happened?
You introduced me to Santi.
I did.
Yeah, you definitely introduced me to Santi. You actually introduced Wes to Santi too. It was the same night.
At Swag, right?
I was gonna say, I don't remember where the fuck we were. Probably at Swag. That makes sense. And then you were like, yeah, she wrote the Reese album. And I remember turning back around, being like, what? Because I had that Reese album, I can't remember the title of it, but it has like Golden Boy on it and everything. I used to listen to that album like repeatedly on blast in my little room in Philly, for years. And so I just turned back around, went over to Santi, and I was like, yo, changed my fucking life. This album changed my life. I cannot believe you wrote it. And then from there, we just like became like best friends.
But how about Mark Ronson? Do you know how that came about?
I definitely met Ronson through Blue Gems. Yeah, Gems definitely brought Ronson into the mix, I think. I can't remember the first time I met him, but me and Gems did that fucking Mabroder project.
Yes. How did that come about? I love Mabroder.
It came about, well, because of Ronson, actually.
Really?
Well, not really because of him, but we're in Miami again.
Oh yes, I remember the story now.
Yeah, me and Gems goes to Ronson's hotel. We just crashed the hotel. They're all in the pool. We've been up all night. We're like on every single fucking thing you could possibly be on. And we're just running Ronson's tab. We keep ordering daiquiris. But for some reason I have a fake mustache on. I have no idea where I got this fake mustache from, like throughout the night. And I'm in the pool with this fake mustache, and Jim tells me I look like the Black Giorgio Moroder. So it's like this inside joke. And when we get back to New York, I just like, instead of making my second album, I'll start making the Mabroder project in the downtown studios.
Yeah, it was all those skits.
Yeah, it was all skit heavy, all Italian disco themed. We did like 3 original songs, and mostly just like a mixtape with Gems and DJ Ha. But Ronson had just come into my life, I think, around then, like right before then. And then but because of Gems, Ronson asked me to come work on this album that he was doing. So we did the bike song together, and he also asked me to come out on tour for that album run. So I was out on tour with Mark Ronson, through Europe and maybe a little bit of America. That shit was fucking wild.
Yeah, Plastic Little was on that too at one point, right?
Yeah, so I think Plastic Little maybe did half and I did half or something like that. It was because we weren't on tour with Mark at the same time.
And what about Freedia? How did you develop a relationship with Freedia?
Yeah, so Big Freedia, I love how I met Big Freedia. I met Big Freedia through Japanther. So Ian from Japanther was throwing a show. What was that venue in Brooklyn? It's not there anymore. Maybe it was called like 285 Kent, maybe, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think maybe I'm gonna say 285 Kent. It might not be right. It could have, but it's one of those like hipster venues like that. Ian was putting on a show for Big Freedia, and he was like, "I need you to open up for this artist," and I was like, the fuck? I'm not opening up for nobody in Brooklyn. I like run Brooklyn. I was like, I run Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were like, I was like popping during that time. And I was like, who is it? And then he played me Big Freedia. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely opening up. I don't think I'm not going on after Freedia, you know?
Yeah. So I'm gonna guess that was 2009.
Probably it was before Everything is Boring came out. I was going down to New Orleans a lot because I had my friend was going to law school down there, and I was already going down to New Orleans every year. So after I met
Is this
Freedia,
one of the Uzi twins?
yes, it's one of the
Yes.
Uzi twins,
Oh my
yes.
God, the Uzi twins.
But yeah, so New Orleans was a fucking time, and we would go down there kind of like me and Josh would go down to visit John almost like every year. So 4 years, 5 years in a row. And so I meet Freedia in New York, and then I finally get to go down to New Orleans to visit John again. And I'm like, yeah, I know Big Freedia. Let's like, let's run around. And went to the studio, Freedia a couple times. I was trying to get her to teach me how to rap like bounce style, And during that time, I asked her if she wanted to be on the song I was working on called Nasty. And she sent me a verse and we put it on Everything is Boring record. And she's just been the best. And other times it's super early. Like people were not really fucking with I mean, New York ate it up. Like the gays in New York, like they were like, yes, Freedia. But she didn't have a booking agent during that time.
It was Rusty.
Yeah, it was Rusty. I helped her. I put her in touch with Windish. I think she ended up being represented by Windish or somebody else. So I kind of like got her like a booking agent, helped her get a booking agent. And then she just kept, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, if it wasn't for Panther, I wouldn't have known Freedia. And she's just the most solid human being, most inspirational human being, like in the world.
For sure. Well, I know that, so 2009, she played Sway.
Okay.
And Sway did not know what hit them. It was kind of like, but they got it. I mean, everyone was like, after like song one, they're like, oh, fuck, and it was like New York was a lot more open-minded by then. I just wanted to know maybe your thoughts on Serato, because I know you experienced like DJs on vinyl and then becoming digital.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I want to say thank God for Serato. Like, thank God, thank God, thank God. I used to feel so bad for Devlin and Darko. They would be carrying their crates on the Chinatown bus whenever we had to do shows, and they was just breaking their backs carrying all this vinyl, for every show that we did in New York. And I remember they were being purists and didn't want to switch over to Serato. And then finally they did it. And I was like, thank God, y'all can just travel and be like, like regular boys. Cause I was like, I'm not helping you carry that crate. Like, that's on y'all. And so like, I appreciate Serato for, making it way easier for DJs to, just like be agile and move and travel and tour.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, Serato.
And
for
be
me.
weird.
And be weird. Yeah. Because it was so much, you could do so much more, and have so much more music.
Are there other artists in the 2000s that pushed and inspired you besides Chick Chick Chick?
Now that we're talking about MIA, I think I might have went on her first US tour. I think I was the opener on her first US tour.
Oh yeah, I went to that at 930 Club.
Yeah,
I brought my parents.
Yeah. You were fucking there. She really pushed me. I think we kind of pushed each other a little bit because I think I was a better performer than she was, but she just had all these fucking amazing. Her songs were so much better, and it was really interesting, like going on tour and being really competitive. With as an opener, you're always really competitive with the headliner, and she really pushed me because I really wanted to be the best. And so my shows are like live, but all that happened was I was just setting her up for like to come out and crush it because the audience was like on 10, and then she would come out and drop her first track and like everyone's heads would explode, So I really love that tour a lot because it really made me understand the importance of like writing a good song and also helped me push myself as a performer too. I consider her as like a peer, also because she was doing something that was like, she was first in doing something that was really innovative, and I felt like we were some of the only artists that had, had this like really big new vision of what, sound, what music would sound like. Santi was interesting because like, did she, like, sometimes I don't know if she pushed me, but she definitely was such a mentor with some of the things that she would say in the studio. Like she would always remind me to sound like myself. I always felt like a big pressure to, start whatever was like popular, whatever was becoming popular. I wanted to like sound like that. I wanted to keep up with it. And I remember I was like rapping. I think we were doing the verse for Shove It. And I rapped it. I think I rapped it like Rick Ross or something. I was trying to sound really big and really Southern. And she was just like, Naeem, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you gotta sound like yourself, sound like yourself. And she's always been just like more of a sister, giving, like, letting me know that I was good and I was okay and I could be comfortable in making the stuff that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I think everybody else I think we covered everybody else. It was like Plastic Little for me. They really pushed me. Amanda just pushed me so much to actually like want to know how to be on rhythm and know how to rap, I hate her so much because every time she gets on a song, I'm like really proud of what I did, and then she just takes it over, and she even did it on this last album, Woo 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 Woo. So
Oh,
but
I
yeah,
love that video too.
yeah, I mean, she made it good. Yeah. But not too many people push me except for, I can name them: Disco D, Amanda Blank, MIA a little bit, Triple Exchange, and Santi. It's like, those are the people that really helped
And
me.
Gems?
The Gyms push me. Gyms didn't push me, but you know what? Like Gyms, like I never felt more seen in my life. When I finished the Startisha album, it was really, the album means a whole lot to me because, like I stopped putting out music as Spankrock, and I wanted to I wanted it to sound different. I wanted to sing more. I felt like I was taking a lot of risk creatively. And every time I finish a project, I would play it for Jim's first, but he had passed away by the time I finished this record, and not having his like reassurance, not having him there to be able to give me some reassurance and feel confident about it, was a massive like hole in
Yeah,
like in my creative process and existence.
I know.
No one encouraged me more. I really don't like, I got through it. Like people like some of the music I made, I had an impact and stuff, and like we had a lot of fun, but I felt like every time I made something, I had to fight for it. It was really very rare when like I made something and I played it and people were like, yo, this is dope. Like when I made the first Spankrock stuff, all those early demos, none of my friends liked that shit. I think maybe you liked it. I think maybe, a couple people who were like music nerds were into it, but like my friends and family ain't never liked that shit. They were never like, yo, this is dope. I was out here by myself, and Jim's is always someone who was like, yeah, this is genius. Yeah, fuck him up, Naeem. Like, so not having that,
Yeah,
sometimes it takes one person to believe in you and make you feel like you can take on the world. And it was Jim's is the one who made me feel that way.
it's beautiful. I miss him too. Naeem, you're the best.
You're
I
the
know it's
best.
not easy for you, but we had so much fucking fun.
I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of fun. Like, ideally, like I would be very happy right now if I had died at the age of 27 and was just in heaven being like, that was a great ride. Because it was so much fun, you know? It was like so much fun. But yeah, but like dealing with like the, you know, still being here and reflecting on it, I'm like, what a ride. That was tough. That was a tough one. I'm glad we talked.
Me too.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.